In today's video, we're going to be going over 7 talked about designer fragrances and niche fragrances that are actually worth the hype that they receive, and they're worth checking out and trying, or, actually purchasing a full bottle of. Some of these are going to be a little bit more daring than others, so in terms of a blind buy, you might want to approach that with caution. But there are a few of these that are going to be relatively safe, as long as you know generally what you like and what you look for in a scent. You'll find that these might align with you perfectly, and it might make sense to make a purchase. Only have 7 that we're going to be going through today, keeping it short and simple. But again, just because we're not talking about a ton doesn't mean that we're not covering some really good scents, because we definitely are. And we've also have kind of a pretty good range in terms of cool weather and warm weather scents to accommodate everybody right now. We're going to get things kicked off with something more cooler weather leaning from Givenchy. It's Gentleman Reserve Privee. Now, I've talked about this one a ton, and you've heard about it a ton, not just from me, but from a lot of people, because it's really, really good. Sometimes something will get hyped up and popular, and it might not seem like it's all that good of a scent. I don't view that to be the case at all with this one. I think this is worth every video, every article, every review that it has received. I think it's worthy of all of the attention here, and it's basically because it is reworking that eau de parfum DNA. So Gentleman EDP with the iris, the vanilla, the black pepper, that is still in here, but what they're doing is they're adding in chestnut, they're adding in whiskey. So you're giving it a little bit more of a gourmand feel and a bit of a boozy kick as well from that bright whiskey off the opening. The iris is still present. It's the same exact smelling iris that is in Gentleman EDP. The vanilla, some of that black peppery type of accord is still present as well. So again, it's the eau de parfum, but simply taken to the next level. And I love what they did with this, because they could have gone a different direction entirely. They could have taken this and gotten away from the eau de parfum, and it wouldn't have blended in as much, and maybe it wouldn't have made as much sense, but they kept the integrity the same. They stuck true to their roots and just created a flanker that is truly better and improved upon. And of course, that's just my opinion. That's all subjective. But for me, I prefer the addition of that chestnut and whiskey. It makes the scent that much more interesting. And it's one that I gravitate towards all the time as soon as it starts to get cold outside. I mean, like today for Thanksgiving, this would be a great contender. I don't know what I'm going to wear yet today, but maybe this might be it. This next one is Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau. This is the Paradise Garden format. If this bottle doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Well, hopefully the scent description sells you on this one, but I do love how this looks. This looks like spring. Think March, April, when things are starting to come back to life and you're getting some warmth back in the air. That's what this looks like and smells like. So what you have is still that pre-existing Le Beau DNA. So kind of that tonka bean, pineapple, coconut, tropical smell, right, that we know in Le Beau, that's still here. Instead, what you're getting is kind of a green mintiness. So this kind of geranium minty kick off the opening, mixed with just kind of more of a watery feel, rather than being essentially kind of sweet from start to finish like the original and the Le Parfum. This one is freshened up a little bit more. It's going to be more appropriate and maybe easier to wear when it is warmer outside, given that kind of fresh green smell that it does have that just never really existed in the first 2 releases. Now, they also followed a similar trend with Flower Edition, and that one has more of a freshness to it as well. Actually, it's even fresher than Paradise Garden. But again, it's kind of funny. They started off pretty sweet and heavy, and now they're starting to put out a few that are a bit lighter and actually maybe more summer appropriate. It does have kind of this tropical smell to it also, and that's still carrying over from the original 2. So that's not lost, okay? This still very much is a Le Beau scent. When you smell this one, you will see the correlations. But again, it's as simple as they're making it lighter and fresher, a bit green and minty, which is warmly welcomed and honestly much needed for this lineup. If you live somewhere where it gets hot and humid and the first 2 were just way too sweet, this is the solution. This will fix that. And again, it's great for spring when everything is coming back to life and you want a green smelling scent, but this also works in summertime as well when you want something that can still hold up well to the heat. All right, this next one is going to be Gucci Guilty Parfum. Interesting fact about this bottle is you can hold it either way and it says the same thing and has the same, I mean, it's mirrored. So no matter what, you can see Gucci Guilty Parfum in the logo on either side. Kind of a stupid thing to point out, I guess, but it is something that's cool. Orange blossom, juniper, lavender, and woody notes. So it's kind of bright off the opening from this orange blossom accord. But it has this mixture with this juniper where it smells super unique. I mean, that's the thing about this one is, why do I like it? You know, it's a Gucci Guilty, right? People are thinking of Gucci Guilty Black and some others that aren't that interesting, but this one, it stands out. I haven't smelled anything like this before, and primarily it's that opening that I'm feeling that way from. It just has this unique kind of slightly bright fruity opening with a little bit of a sweetness as well that is just, I don't know. It's mostly the texture that I'll say about this one. When you smell it, it has this different texture, this different way of presenting itself that I haven't really experienced anywhere else. So I know you guys, so again, you've smelled Gucci Guilty Black, you've smelled the original, right? But this one does stand out a lot more. I find this one to be more interesting. I find that something like this is one that I would gravitate towards more than the original and some of the other releases, just because it does kind of separate itself from the rest of the crowd. You know, in terms of when I would be wearing this one or reaching for it, typically it's going to be, you know, spring, early parts of summer. When you really get into the heavy summer season, I'm going for other things. And same with fall and winter. There's just better things for certain times. But again, spring, you know, that's really when I would go for this one. It just has kind of the perfect balance of a little bit bright and fresh, but also still a little bit woody and sweet too. It is a true parfum concentration here, so you are getting a strong performer. You're getting something with good richness, good depth, and just good kind of I don't know, this substance behind it, I'll say, that just, this one can't really go unnoticed. It's not light and airy, and it doesn't just disappear. You know, it's one that when you spray it on and you smell it, it sticks around and it's hard to not notice. All right, this next one here actually probably will be my scent of the day. It's just, man, I love this stuff. It is Kilian Angel Share. This is so good, and you know, I'm definitely not the first to talk about something like this. This one is very popular. As far as Kilian goes, I mean, man, this was a big step into the major hype market for them, I feel like. I could be wrong, but I don't really remember any of their other ones. I'm talking like the normal lineup, like Straight to Heaven, Back to Black, those. I don't really remember those getting as popular within and outside of the community like Angel Share did. You know, I mean, look at how many clones we have of Angel Share now, and look at how quickly they started releasing them when this came out. And again, it's because it got popular pretty much instantly. So I don't know, this feels like this one just really kind of blew them up. Relatively speaking, they were already a big brand before, but this one is something that is definitely notable. It has cognac, cinnamon, praline, and vanilla. It is delicious smelling. It's warm, it's sexy, it's inviting. It is very sweet. Now, if you're somebody who's familiar with Kilian fragrances, that's like a no-brainer. Like, of course it's sweet, right? But I'm saying this because if you haven't smelled really anything from the brand, you might not be fully prepared. You might not know what to expect. So I'm just briefing you on that. A very sweet, gourmand type of scent. If you don't like that, then this is something you're definitely not going to want to blind buy, and you might not even want to waste your time sampling it, to be honest, because you just probably wouldn't like it anyway. But for those of you who are kind of pursuing, you know, gourmands and boozy type fragrances, I'll tell you, Kilian is one of the best brands out there for this. That's why I have so many of them. There's a ton of niche brands that I haven't dived into or dove into nearly as much as I have this brand, and so that kind of tells you something. I love stuff like this. I love something that's sweet, that's heavy, that's warm, because it gets cold here, and it's nice to have something like this on. And I already mentioned clones, and so yes, that's definitely an option if you don't want to spend, you know, whatever this goes for right now, 180, 190 for a 50 ml bottle like this, or something roughly. Maybe I'm a little bit off on that, but just generalized, not cheap. Then you could go for one of the many clones. For the most part, they're all good. They're all going to get you close, and they're all going to be at an absolute fraction of the cost. So really the idea is just getting this DNA, this smell into your collection, to me is worthwhile and makes a lot of sense if you know what. We're going to switch gears. I mean, we're just completely going back to something completely opposite here. But again, we're trying to provide as much, you know, versatility to this list as we can, because I understand not everybody lives somewhere where it gets cold. or super cold anyway. YSL L'Homme Le Parfum is up next. I've talked about this one for years, and I had a whole big story about this when it first came out, and I'm not going to get into it. My bottle got lost, and then I almost gave up on it. Finally ended up buying it again, just thinking, man, I feel like I need to give this a try. So I got it in, and I was like, wait a minute, this is really, really good. Truth be told, I wasn't expecting it to be. I was kind of already looking at the reviews that were out there, mostly on Fragrantica, and just kind of looking at the note breakdown and stuff, and I'm thinking, maybe this is going to be a boring release. Maybe this isn't going to be something that I'm going to like all that much. It might be a waste of $80 or $90. Not at all the case. It's one that I've gotten a lot of use out of, and I'm super glad that I have it, and I'm glad that they released this. And I'm going to explain in very simple terms what this smells like. It takes the original YSL L'Homme and throws in a little bit of Y Eau de Parfum. That's as simple as we can put it. Now, are there differences beyond that? Of course, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. So it takes that kind of mature apple, ginger, OG L'Homme smell, and then throws in some amber wood, some kind of aromatic notes as well, like the sage geranium type of deal that comes from YEDP. They throw that in as well. Again, it's just simple to say it's L'Homme mixed with Y Eau de Parfum, and that's essentially what you get. You can also say it's a modernized YSL L'Homme. Now, I'm not saying that the original L'Homme is dated. It's not. In my opinion, it's a timeless smelling scent. I don't think that something like that would ever smell old school, right? It's not an aromatic fougere where maybe it will age differently. It's a ginger-based woody scent from in. It smells great, right? So, it's not old smelling, but this does smell like more of a modern day release given the amber wood focus here and the fact that it is kind of blue, both in terms of smell and even the bottle. That helps as well. You could tell exactly what they were doing with this. That being said, if you want something that is ultra wearable for any time of the year, really, this is it. Now, it's not going to do the best in frigid, cold temperatures, but pretty much everything else outside of that, spring, fall, and summer, you're going to get a lot of use out of this. And I think I already mentioned the price. I think I paid around $80, $90 for this one, and I think that's still about where it's hovering around right now. It's not cheap. It's a little bit more expensive than the original L'Homme and a few of the other flankers maybe, but it's very, very good. Kind of starting to run down to the end with Valentino Uomo Intense. Man, if you want something that is warm and inviting for a cold day, this is another great option for you. Has iris and leather and tonka bean, but it's really all about that iris and leather. Getting a little bit of vanilla thrown in the mix as well, which fits in great and it works well and it makes sense with that tonka and everything else. But mostly it's a nice iris-based scent, a sweet powdery iris with a strong masculine leather. And that's what makes this one different than Dior Homme Intense and something like Gentleman Eau de Parfum, the original, for example, is those didn't use leather and those were sweet, and that's about it. There wasn't really anything else to them. Now, in Dior Homme Intense, they list off a little bit of a woody accord or something like that, and some lavender, right? But no, it's not really a masculine smelling scent. To most people's standards, it's sweet and powdery from start to finish. The leather in here really lends to help make it smell like more of a cologne, more of a masculine smell, which is why a lot of people gravitated towards this one. It makes a lot of sense and it blends really well. And I know, we have Gentleman Eau de Parfum, Reserve Privee up at the first spot that we talked about. Are they redundant? In my opinion, no. Not Reserve Privee in this. Is Gentleman EDP in this redundant? Closer so, yes, because they're both iris-based, and that's it, really. But, Reserve Privee, it gets out of that a little bit, and with the addition of the whiskey and the chestnut, it shakes it up quite a bit to where I wouldn't think there's going to be an issue. There's going to be situations where you might not want to wear Reserve Privee. Maybe it's a little bit too sweet in the terms of being too gourmand or too boozy, and you don't want that. And there might be situations where you do want that, and this isn't really heavy enough to make the cut. So again, there's options. We're going to finish this off with a niche fragrance technically, but it's really affordable. It is L'Homme L'Homme Le Parfum by Guerlain. Leather, amaretto, almond, and patchouli. I say really affordable, in terms of comparisons to other niche brands, right? On discounters, this is typically going to be around anywhere from $100 to $120. We'll just say that. I know that's not cheap, but for niche 100 ml, that is cheap, really. So You know, and honestly, even for designers these days, that's not really abnormal pricing anymore, which is crazy. So you still get that almond smell that has been existent throughout the entire lineup. It's still right here where it should be, but a nice amaretto accord. Man, it smells good. Sweet, boozy, nice patchouli focus in here. Yet another gentleman smelling, expensive, premium, rich smell. It smells like a rich person, really. And the good news is, you know, you're not spending a ton of money on it. It's not $400 or something where, you know, it's out of reach. If you can find this in stock, which is the hardest part, then, you know, most people are going to be comfortable spending around $100 to get it. And so, yeah, that's the thing. Often out of stock right now on discounters. I always notify when it comes into stock on my community tab here on YouTube and on my mailing list. So subscribe to my mailing list. It's free. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and check my community tab every day. Also free. And I'll let you know when this one pops up. Just do keep in mind it usually sells quick. So make sure you're diligent. And, you know, it just popped up somewhat recently, past month or two. And hopefully it'll pop up again a few more times as we're working our way through winter. That's going to do it for me, guys. Some hype fragrances that are actually worth checking out. Links will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.